This day in sports history. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. Hey there, and welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History. It's November 9th, and on this day in 1946, the game that was billed to be the greatest offensive battle in the history of college football ended in a 0-0 tie. This was the second-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the defending national champs and top-ranked Army Cadets. Both teams were undefeated at this point in the season, and both were averaging more than 30 points a game. So, it was understandable to expect some offensive fireworks. Army had dominated this series the previous two seasons, winning by scores of 59-0 and 48-0. And then when you take a look at the rosters for these two teams, you have the current Heisman Trophy winner in Doc Blanchard and the guy who would win the Heisman in 46, Glenn Davis, playing for Army. Add to that, Notre Dame had quarterback Johnny Lujack, who would win the Heisman Trophy in 1947, and tight end Leon Hart, who would go on to win the Heisman Trophy in 1949, and you've got the ingredients for a powerful points-scoring stew. And by the way, this is the only game in college football history that 4 current and future Heisman Trophy winners appeared. Army carried a 25-game winning streak into this one, with their last loss coming to the Irish in 1943. This game was played at Yankee Stadium in front of 76,000 people, ready to watch points roll up on the scoreboard like a slot machine. And they got bupkis. Well, the game was still pretty amazing. Just no points were scored. It was just the opposite of what everybody thought it would actually turn out to be. Notre Dame's defense knew where to focus their attention, on Blanchard and Davis, aka Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside. The Irish held the pair to just 80 yards rushing on 35 carries. Army focused its defensive firepower on shutting down the passing game of Lujack and company. Lujack only completed 6 passes. The Fighting Irish did manage 225 yards in total offense and had the best chance to score after an 85-yard march down the field in the first half put them on Army's 4. Facing a 4th and inches, the Irish appeared to get enough for a fresh set of downs, but a penalty negated it, and the Irish were forced to turn it over on downs. Army nearly had a pick 6 after Lujack's pass was intercepted by Blanchard. Lujack made a diving stop to prevent the touchdown, and the Notre Dame defense prevented any further movement in the trenches. Neither team liked to kick field goals. Army turned it over 4 times on downs, and Notre Dame did that twice. Army had not attempted a field goal in 3 years, and I suppose when you have guys like Blanchard and Davis who consistently could get needed yardage, well, there wasn't much need. Notre Dame's kicker, Fred Early, didn't even put on his uniform for this one. He was there at the game, but he just never put on the pads and the jersey. The 0-0 final score drew grumbles from sports writers who were ready to write lengthy articles about the 2 best teams in the country battling it out. Instead, the headline in one paper read, "Much ado about nothing, nothing." Army and Notre Dame would both finish out the season undefeated, with the 1 tie leaving the national championship up to sports writers who selected the Fighting Irish over Army. We're 6 days away from the much-hyped and anticipated Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight on the 15th in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. Well, let's go back to this day in 1996, when Iron Mike showed a lot of rust and let Evander Holyfield sneak up on him. So this was the first and less eventful fight between these two. Tyson was heavily favored after knocking out his previous 4 opponents since his release from prison. Holyfield actually needed a certificate of health to climb into the ring. He'd retired from boxing after losing his title to Michael Moorer in 1994. A visit to the hospital after that fight to have his shoulder checked out resulted in doctors finding issues with his heart. Holyfield declared his heart healed later that year, and he started training again. His 2 lead-up fights to this one were a mixed bag. He'd beaten Roy Mercer but was knocked out by Riddick Bowe. The fight was pretty even through the first 5 rounds. Holyfield headbutted Tyson in the 6th and opened a gash, with the headbutt ruled accidental and not intentional. Holyfield then connected with a right hand that put Tyson on the mat. It was the first time that Tyson had been knocked down since his loss to Buster Douglas in 1990. In the 7th, it was another clash of heads. This time, the boxers looked like battering rams. Tyson lunged as Holyfield was attacking, and the 2 heads came together. Tyson cried out in pain, but again, the head clash was considered incidental. In the 10th, Holyfield attacked with the clock winding down and landed another stunner to Tyson that sent him back into the ropes. Holyfield followed that up with a barrage of punches, and as the bell rang to end the round, Tyson was still standing, but hardly knew where he was. When the 11th round started, Holyfield sensed blood in the water and went after Tyson from the start. Referee Mitch Halpern stepped in to stop the fight, and Holyfield had shaken up the boxing world with his victory. It was Holyfield's 3rd time claiming the heavyweight title, joining Muhammad Ali as the only boxers to win the heavyweight championship on 3 occasions. This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. On this day in 2014, Bubba Watson boomeranged his way to a win in Shanghai, China. This was the HSBC Championships, and Bubba was looking pretty good in the final round until he bogeyed 16 and then double bogeyed 17. His second shot on the par 5 final hole landed in a bunker, while his shot from out of the sand found the bottom of the cup for an amazing eagle to force a playoff with Tim Clark. On the first playoff hole, Watson rolled in a 25-foot birdie putt to win the tournament and a check for $1.4 million. And on this day in 1969, one of the least liked players in professional golf beat Jack Nicklaus, finally. Australian Bruce Crampton was known to be surly with the media, golf fans, his caddy, other caddies, people who wanted to be a caddy, and fellow golfers. And just to offer up one example, at one tournament pro-am, Crampton was paired with an amiable young lady who was sure the rumors of Crampton's cranky nature were untrue. Upon meeting Crampton on the first tee, the young woman said, "A friend of mine bet me $10 you wouldn't say 5 words to me." Crampton said back, "Sorry, lady, you lose." That's 4 words, and Crampton did not speak to her again the rest of the day. Players who were paired up with him in tournaments said Crampton is rude, selfish, and inconsiderate. But he was a good golfer. He never won a major tournament, but he did finish second 4 times. Each time Crampton finished second, the man in front of him, hoisting the winner's trophy, was Jack Nicklaus. So it was with a good bit of satisfaction for the mean man of golf that on this day, Crampton beat Nicklaus and the rest of the field in the Hawaiian Open. This was the final time the Hawaiian Open was played in the fall. It would take a year off and then return in '71 with a February start. Crampton rolled in his final putt on 18 to win by 4 strokes over Nicklaus. It was his first win in 4 years, and it was his 7th tour win on his way to 15 PGA Tour wins overall. Time now for today's Got Nothing to Do with Sports Fun Fact. If you've ever wondered why finding a problem in a computer program is called debugging, Well, the first ever problem with a computer program in 1947 was a literal bug, or more specifically, a moth, trapped on a Harvard Mark II computer. From that, we get the term debugging when fixing computer glitches. That's all I've got for you today. More on the way tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.